I received this letter, I think it was 1997, 96, 97. I received a letter, it was before internet days, before emails, before all that fancy stuff, before phones. So we had letters back then. So I received a letter from Betty, Coracas, who asked me in that letter that she wanted to paint my portrait for the Archibald Prize. So Betty is an artist. She has done lots of different paintings. She writes poems, she writes books, she's got many talents. But she wanted to do my painting. She had done other paintings for the director of the Cancer Council. She had painted his portrait for the Archibald Prize and Dame Elizabeth Murdoch. And she chose me, I think because it had just happened that week. I was on the front page of the Herald Sun, and she's like, I'm going to paint the picture her painting for the portrait. So I received this. It was a bit of something different. We're scientists, we're academics, we're not used to having our portraits painted. So I thought, this is really exciting. And I thought, yep, I'll do it. So every Tuesday, because it had to be a live, was nothing digital then, it was a live painting. So I would dress the same every Tuesday. I'd wear the same clothes, same earrings, same watch, same everything. I had to do my hair exactly the same every single Tuesday, and I would turn up to her studio at the Galleria in the city, and I would sit for about 1 hour, 2 hours. I would sit and in the same position, and she would pick features and paint me. The following week the same, the following week the same. And, it was really exciting for a 27-year-old. It was really exciting that, I'm getting my portrait painted. And that's how I met Betty. And sort of on off, we sort of kept in touch, but we lost contact for many, many, many years. And then thanks to social media, I think we found each other only a few years ago, and we've kept in contact. And she did say to me, Vasso, I am going to set up a charity, and I am going to raise money for your research. And I blinked, and here it is. It was just amazing how fast you're able to do it. She got a committee together. Thank you to all the committee members, and you just did an amazing job. This is their first event, and I thank you very much to Betty and to the committee. I've got a picture here, thank you. So I'm going to show you the portrait. Here's a very old, that's a very young me, and that's a very old newspaper clipping, I think it was, and that's the portrait in the back, and that's me in the front. It was just amazing, and here it is in black and white. That's the portrait it's actually a very, very big painting. It was really, really amazing. After that, I think you had seen another article in the newspaper. There's me, and then she did I don't really understand paintings, but it was a pencil painting of me, and I've got that in my office at home. So thank you so much. So today, I'm going to give you just a brief overview of what we do, or I'm new at RMIT. I've been there almost 3 months now, approaching 3 months. And we're trying to set up, bringing our research there, and plus we want to do bigger things. So within it's very broader, bigger picture. There's with Professor Apostolopoulos, who is the Dean of the Health and Biomedical Sciences at Bandura campus. She heads the whole medical sciences area. This is part of the bigger picture of the RMIT Bandura campus, and she will let you know about there's the vision of having there is the health precinct there, and this is one of what we will be involved at the Bandura campus. So within my program, I would like to point out Dr. Jack Feehan, who is on table 12. So go and say hi to him. We'll put your hand up. So Jack, we were together at Victoria University. We both moved to RMIT. And Jack basically is my right-hand support. He's amazing. I say, do. I haven't said what, but he's already done it. That's how amazing he is. So thank you so much, Jack, if it wasn't for Jack, none of this would be possible. So, and he coordinates everything for me. He actually puts me in order, because I'm all over the place. Jack says, okay, we need to focus on this, we need to do this, we need to do this. So thank you, Jack. And none of this would be possible. And of course, the number one is Professor Catherine Chopoulos, who recruited me to RMIT, and I feel excited to be at RMIT and be part of the health precinct at Bundoora campus. So a little bit about what we do and there's different areas of research we work on. I'm not going to go into every little project and everything we do because we'll be here till tomorrow. But just a summary of the type of work we do. From cancer, of course, that's our main research, but we do a lot of other research as well, chronic diseases. First of all, we work on, is that okay? Yeah, not as dark. First of all, there's 5 different areas to our research, or to the Healthy Lifespan and Chronic Diseases program that we have. First of all, it's hard to, you need to understand the mechanisms of disease. Why do they happen? What occurs? What is the process from before disease to disease? What is the process? What is the mechanism? Because if you can understand the mechanism and the process of why diseases occur, you can then work backwards and develop therapeutics and drugs. Okay, so you need to understand mechanisms of disease. So that's one of our areas. It's dark, isn't it? So one of the areas we work on is on cancer. We try to understand the cancer biology, what is around the cancer microenvironment, what's around the cancer cells, how do everything around the cancer, how they behave, all the cells that are infiltrating cancer, how they behave, so you can sort of get an idea of what's happening in the cancer microenvironment, and then from there you could obviously develop better drugs. We're doing a lot of work on understanding addiction to drugs. One of them is ice or methamphetamine. Try to understand what does it do to the body. What are the mechanisms? What does it do to the colon? What does it do to the brain? What does it do to the microbiome, to the blood cells? Try to understand what the drug does. Ice, so then you could sort of come up with treatments or developing of vaccines as well. We also have done a lot of work on IBD, inflammatory bowel diseases, where we're looking at the chronic inflammation in the gut, trying to understand what are the cells there, what's happening, how it progresses, and try to come up with ways to understand diseases. So that's just some of the research we're doing in understanding the mechanisms of disease. The next part of there's 5, so I'm going to go through 5 areas. The next part of what we do is on developing vaccines and drugs. Okay? So I have one vaccine. I think that's one of the first research I did was when I was still an honours student, then a PhD, and then it went on. We developed our labs, clinical trials labs, etc., and did clinical trials. So in the early 1990s, when I started this research, I was involved in developing a vaccine for breast cancer. At the time, it was only for breast cancer. We then have progressed to other cancers as well. But when we did the first clinical trial at the Peter Mac at the Austin Hospital, Austin Health, Peter Mac, they were the first two, and the Women's Hospital, and it was the first time in the world, where a vaccine for breast cancer was developed. So we did a lot of different trials. When you do these, you do lots of different studies. One was, is it safe? That was one study. The next study we did, dose escalation. What is the dose you need to give the vaccine to people? So we increased the doses and evaluated them. Another clinical trial was on the route of immunisation. How do you inject it? In the vein, in the dermis, subcutaneous, in the muscle, different ways of injecting it. Then we looked at whether it had beneficial benefits to the patients, etc. So altogether there's about 25 different human phase 1, phase 2, pilot phase 3 clinical trials. One study that stands out is we started that clinical trial in 1997 where we injected women who had breast cancer. They were early stage breast cancer, so it was up to 4 lymph nodes positive, so they were stage 1/2, early stage. They do the standard treatments. They're all put on tamoxifen, which is a hormone treatment. That's their standard treatment. In addition, we gave these half of the women in the cohort, half got the vaccine, the other half got nothing, or they got a placebo, but they all had standard treatment. Plus, some got the vaccine. After 5 years, it was meant to be a 5-year study. After 5 years, we found that those that were in the placebo group, non-vaccine group, there were about 20 to 25% recurrences. So the cancer had returned in about 20 to 25% of the patients. In the vaccinated group, it was 0. 10 years later, the clinician was excited. I mean, we're researchers, we're academics, we're back in the lab making other vaccines. The clinicians decided to keep on monitoring these patients. Then we published the 10-year follow-up, the 15-year follow-up, 18-year follow-up of these patients. Now we're trying to gather the information from the 27-year follow-up. Will be 27 years in December. But up to the 80 years that we've published, 18 years later, those that did not get the vaccine, there were about 60% recurrences. 18 years later, about more than half the cancer had returned. The ones that received the vaccine, 0 recurrences, 100% protection. So I do know that now, up until now, I have been told, we want to write this up to publish, the 27-year follow-up. I have been told that those that are, quite a few have passed away, not from cancer, the ones in the vaccinated group, because of old age. They're approaching 80 now, they're much older now, or 70s, 80s, so late 80s. So a lot of them have passed away from old age or other diseases, not from cancer. So there's quite a few that have passed away, not from recurrences. But of those that are alive, are still cancer-free. So, but I must say, with this work, okay, so we have something. We've got the lab work, we've got the animal work, which I didn't talk about, which was mice, rats, rabbits, chickens, rhesus macaque monkeys. We did all that work. We've done clinical trials after clinical trials after clinical trials. We've got follow-up, long-term follow-up data. So we've got a package this thick, which is absolutely amazing. And we know long-term it does protect. But I guess there's a bit of a problem now here, because all up, the whole research has taken over 30 years, 32 years. And what the problem is, well, we've got one study, the results took 27 years. What the problem is that everything goes by patents. If you want to get a pharmaceutical company involved, the first thing they look at is how many years left are in the patent. Well, our patent has expired because it's taking so long to do these studies. So we're a little bit stuck. So our idea is to, look at other avenues, philanthropic, fundraising, government, etc. This study, which was 30 years worth of research, I would like to say that acknowledge that the Greek community throughout the 1990s, from 92, 93 to about 2000, they were doing fundraising events just about every week. It was charity golf days, there were barbecues, there were dances, there were balls. Bosom Buddies Ball was the famous one at the Hyatt. So there was a lot of fundraising events. We had a lot of different sponsors. Meriton Apartments, they had a R&D syndicate who provided the funds. We also did get government funding. We got grants. We got lots of other sponsors. I can't mention it because there's too many. I might forget some. So that's one that we have, which we would like to then now go on and do a large Australia-wide study to inject women who are just diagnosed with breast cancer, to inject them to protect it from coming back. I'll be a lot faster here. I have developed a vaccine for ovarian cancer, which what we were fortunate with this one is because from the beginning, because we already were gathering at the time data from the breast cancer vaccine, I must say this vaccine is also applicable for ovarian, breast, lung, prostate, pancreas, what was the other one? Colon. So this company was interested in ovarian cancer. That was what they were interested in, and they took it straight away from day one, and they developed it. Okay, so that was it's their property. They developed it. They did all the clinical trials. They did all the testing, etc. It's been used overseas, in Dubai, Saudi Arabia, Israel, as a first-line treatment for ovarian cancer. The company, they were called CVAC, now they're called ImmuneTep. The company has also got FDA approval, last I heard from them, to do a large study at the Fred Hutchinson's Cancer Center in the USA on pancreatic cancer, which I think is really great. We've developed, I did get a grant from the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation, and we developed like an immunotherapeutic vaccine for type 1 diabetes, where we're able to get the cells that were doing the damage in the pancreas in type 1 diabetes, we're able to reverse them from being damaging to being non-damaging. So we did work there. That grant just finished, and now we're looking at going on to getting the next grant to finish that off. We just completed a study on MS in Europe. So we were going to do this study, this clinical trial. Well, this clinical trial, the work on MS, we had developed a consortium, worldwide consortium. It started in 1999, and now, 25 years later, we've completed the first clinical trial. So it takes a long time to do research, lots of funding, but it was a big consortium. But we were going to do this clinical trial here, but then we were in lockdown for so many years, or for a very long time, and the investors got tired of waiting, so then they decided to take it back to Europe and do it in Europe. That's fine. I mean, it doesn't matter where it's done. But they've just completed a phase 1 clinical trial in patients with MS. The idea is to stop progression. So, yeah, they're diagnosed with MS, but they receive this to stop it from progressing. So we've just done that, and now they're ready to start the next phase, which is a phase 2 clinical trial that will be done. But that was funded by a pharmaceutical company in Greece, but also there was a large European Union grant that helped that go through. In the lab, we've developed some vaccines for methamphetamine addiction, drug addiction, like a blocker, to try and help people overcome their addiction. And Jack has a student who's working on developing a vaccine for Alzheimer's disease. So that's all the vaccine work that we do. We're also looking at repurposing drugs, because that's sort of like it's a quicker way of progressing drugs. We've got a student working on various different repurposed drugs. We've got some up there. So these are known drugs that have been used. They've been repurposed this is for colon cancer. So he's a PhD student. He's actually one of our special students, because at the age of 70 he's decided to do a PhD, and he's absolutely amazing. He's a pensioner. He goes, Vasso, I am bored. I want to do a PhD, and he's doing a PhD. It's just amazing. So it's never too late to do anything you want. Yeah, I'll go move on. We also got a student looking at acute kidney injury. So people that have chemotherapy or for other reasons, there's people get injury of the kidney, and they either recover or they don't recover, injury to the kidneys, and they go on and have to do dialysis. So we've got some novel drugs that are showing promising that we could sort of protect the kidneys. One of our other students is working on atherosclerosis, heart cardiovascular diseases, and we've got some novel drugs that she's testing in animal models as well as in the lab. I better move forward. New technologies we're developing. We've got these new nanoparticles where you put the chemotherapy inside these little particles and you target that to the cancer. So I've just got two students that they're writing their thesis. We're targeting the nanoparticles, the chemotherapy, targeting it to the cancer rather than the chemotherapy that will just attack all the cells in the body. So that's a more targeted approach. Another thing, we've developed a pan-antiviral consortium where we're looking at viruses, preparing ourselves for our next outbreak, next pandemic, because it will happen. There will be other pandemics. And we're just trying to see what's there, monitoring what are the viruses that could potentially keep mutating to become the next pandemic. So we're looking at we've done a lot of work on influenza, RSV, COVID. Now we're putting a lot of efforts into H5N1, which is the bird flu, which at the moment, it's a bird flu, isolated to birds, but it's infecting humans. There's been an outbreak this year in the USA, Canada, and a few other countries. And the idea is if it keeps on mutating, it will become more infectious, and there's a potential it will be an outbreak. So we're monitoring that, trying to develop drugs, be ready for the next pandemic. There's another one, Mpox, monkeypox, Oropouchi virus. So we're sort of monitoring and trying to understand these potential other outbreaks, and we're trying to be prepared. So this is our consortium. A lot of the different universities from Greece we've got involved, but also from Canada, USA, here in Australia as well. I'll be quick. These will now be a lot quicker. So that was one, understanding disease. The other one's drug development, vaccines. The next area of our research is looking at natural products, because natural products are also have some beneficial to it. There's some benefits to these natural products, and looking at the bioactive compound, what is active ingredient in these natural compounds. And so we've done quite a lot of work on different, over the years, we've published a lot of different work. The more recent ones we did was on resveratrol, the effects on, one was on cardiovascular disease, but we looked at the effects of after chemotherapy, the protection on the gut chemotherapy has, protecting the gut from the damage. So resveratrol, we looked at that, resveratrol is the active ingredient in wine. We did some studies on maca root, which is from Peru, a root, one of these roots, a plant. We did some studies in Hong Kong on cardiovascular diseases, also trying to help women with menopause symptoms. Turmeric, vitamin B, Vegemite, we did quite a bit of work there. The more recent ones where we just published was the one on the top right it's called glycyrrhiza, sweet root. In English it's glycyrrhizic. Another word is licorice. So that has, we published a paper showing that it has anti-inflammatory properties, and we actually used a model of heart disease. We've got a paper just accepted on Carolum fimbriata, which is that cactus. It's from the plant. And again, that shows more for cardiovascular and obesity treatment. And I've got a student who's looking at these mushrooms and looking at the it has a lot of psycho properties for mental health issues, and he's working on that. Some of the ones are up there. Vitamin B, we've done a lot of work on vitamin B, showing it has activity. Carnosine, which Jack has done a lot of work on that. Taurine, which is highly present in fish. We looked at probiotics, etc., etc. So there's a lot of natural active compounds where we're looking at the scientific evidence that it works, what it works on, and then from there you could be confident to go on and do some clinical studies. These will be a lot quicker to do in the clinic because these are all natural products. You can add on. So we would like to do a clinical trial. That's our aim for the next year. Hopefully we'll get the funds to do a clinical trial in pancreatic cancer because we're showing one of these is effective for pancreatic cancer. There's another one here that has anti-diabetic properties, but it's also cognition. There's a potential for it to have reduced cognitive decline. So we want to do a big study there as well. So see, these natural products, they do work, but you can't just say because it's natural, I will take it. You need to wait for the scientific evidence. It works, the clinical trials, and then to use it. And also the quantity, you can't just, I'm not expecting you to go to the chemist and buy all these chemicals there, all these natural products, because overdosing can also be toxic. So a lot of it has to be under scientific research. We developed this drink, a probiotic drink, in the lab. That was one of my students who now we're talking to a company to do a clinical trial, where it's like a Yakult. We all know Yakult. Well, that's our version of Yakult in the lab bottle. But what it does, it was found, in animal models, in the rats that have hypertension, it was found that this drink, it's fermented from skim milk, from milk. We did that fermentation process. It's high protein. Yeah, proteins break up into little fragments. They're called peptides. And we've got about 200 of these little fragments which were active, that showed activity to reduce blood pressure. So we could use this drink. We also did a study on, we put various flavourings to it, and we did a study of, what flavour and what drink people would prefer, and people were drinking it. But now we want to do an actual study in cardiovascular diseases. But my idea would be make this into a cheese. And then we all eat cheese and our blood pressure goes down. How amazing would that be? Anyway, because I love cheese, so I just want to eat cheese. But I don't have blood pressure, but that's okay. It's good. I think, ideally, how amazing would that be? So if you have any contacts with the cheese companies, let me know. We could approach them. You say, let's make a cheese. That would be fantastic advertising, right? Marketing, amazing. Eat cheese and your blood pressure will go down. Anyway, of course we have to do the clinical trials, okay? That's just a repeat, that's it. One thing is, another thing, okay, so all that was, hang on a minute, we call this food is medicine. So it's important, food is medicine, okay? And a lot of the work that Professor Apostolopoulos does, Catherine Apostolopoulos, who's our big head of the school, she does a lot of work on the Mediterranean diet. So, it's very important to have that, food is important, what we eat. So food is medicine, we like calling it like that. But also another thing is exercise is medicine, because it is. There's evidence showing that exercise is good for diabetes, heart disease, glucose metabolism, polycystic ovary syndrome. It helps with muscles. There's a lot of different benefits for exercising. Not meaning you do go and do marathons, but moderate exercise is quite good. We did a study during the pandemic, actually, when it was all closed. We did a study on exercise in breast cancer patients. That was with Western Health down at Sunshine, and we're getting people, because we had a 5-kilometre radius of walking, so we got women that were part of the study to walk, and we monitored the amount of walking they did. And then we took their bloods before, we took their bloods after all this, and to try and see the benefits of exercise to the immune system, and then the immune system will go and kill off cancer cells. The second last one is on, we do work on medical technologies because, you know, we have to be in it, because otherwise we'll be chasing. Because AI is the latest technologies that are out there. A lot of people have negative thoughts about AI, but there's also benefits for AI. And in research, we don't want to be doing the catch-up. And, you know, we're catching up to everybody else. We need to be there. So we got funding with a company, Directed Technologies, he's amazing. He's also Greek, and he's got his Australia-wide. He's very, very good. He does a lot of AI, but they do AI in transport and logistics. They work out all the AI, you know, all the electronic stuff, or electric cars, electronic stuff in the dashboards. They look at, you know, all that sort of AI work. They do work with a lot of different big partners. So the idea is to use that information that they're gathering for their purpose in transport and logistics, to use that information and repurpose it for aged care and ageing. So that's what this fund is about, and there's 5 PhD students. We actually had 5. We need 3 now, 3 more. If anyone wants to do a PhD in AI, in aged care and health, talk to Jack or me, because we have 3 scholarships, very impressive scholarships. It's funded by CSIRO together with Directed Technologies. One other thing that really quickly is the last one of this one. I think I've got one more slide after this. Phototherapy is another research where we had a student who finished, where he looked at phototherapies. So there's a lot of talk about out there, you know, you use the yellow colour, all different colour therapies. You know, the yellow is used for acne, the red is used for all different, blue, all different. There's a lot of marketing out there used by clinicians. But what we did, the student who completed, who Jack supervised, and Jack was involved a lot, was looking at how the light therapy works. What is the scientific evidence? So we looked at the mechanism of so we looked at red colour and looked at what it does to the cells and what are the little mechanisms inside the cell and what's changing. So there was a lot of, you know, all these upregulation, downregulation of all these genes inside the cell, okay? And it was found that basically, you know, it sped up, it has potential for wound healing, so it speeds up healing of wounds. One could be in sports injuries, I guess. It could be used. We did get a grant from the Defence here in Melbourne, where, you know, they funded this part of this project to look at wounds and injuries for their army personnel. So, you know, they could have in their pocket a little laser or colour and, you know, use it. That was the idea of that. We also had a student working on effects of these phototherapies on cancer as well. So that's another part of technologies that we are working on. A lot of other technologies, but these are just 2 main ones. And finally, we have the last one where we engage with the community for health, trying to understand the health. What are they, especially for the CALD communities, like, you know, the Greek communities, there's the Filipino, the older communities, which is the Filipinos, Greeks. Italians are a little bit more advanced than everybody else, where they've already been there, done that, like they're a bit more advanced. So we want to work with the the Greeks, Filipino, who was the other one? Greek, Filipino, Sri Lankan, So we want to look at trying to understand what are their issues, the older people, what are their issues in chronic diseases, in dementias, in mental health issues. What are the issues? What are the problems? Then we come up with a program, implement the program, and then evaluate the program and see the benefits of that. So we did get we actually just completed, we completed the study, which where Jack is evaluating the data. We did a study in the community of Burma. They are refugees and they have a lot of trauma because before they came to Australia, they spent 10 years, 15 years of their lives in concentration camps. So they have a lot of mental health issues. So we're looking at trying to understand what are their issues now, how that could be helped, and what are the main problems. So we just finished that study. That was funded by a grant that we received. And just now, I would say Jack just got a smaller grant to evaluate in the Greek community. So we look forward to seeing what happens in the Greek community, what are the issues for the Greeks, and how we could help them. So that's that. That's helping the community. And part of all this, we also do education programs, because it's very important to educate. Educate the elderly about their diseases, better management, what can they do to manage it, but also it's important to go back to the younger so they could understand diseases to prevent or delay progression or getting diseases. So that's another part. So that's our 5 areas of the research that our program is. Healthy Lifespan and Chronic Diseases Program. It's 5 areas. Now this is one small part to the bigger picture of the health precinct over at Bandura, which I'm sure Catherine will let you know. Ideally, we would like to, part of this, we would like to turn it into a centre for healthy ageing, and that's what our plan is to do at RMIT. So, overall, we do a lot of different work on cancer, a lot of different projects. I didn't mention them all, but lots of work on cancer, but also other chronic diseases, vaccines, natural products, etc. So it's very broad, and the funds that are, we get funds, we don't get funds. We get small funds, we get funds for projects, but sometimes we don't get grants. We apply for, if we apply for, like, let's say 30 grants, we'll probably get one. And if we get that one, we're excited. So that's how competitive it is to get grants, because everybody wants to get these grants. These are the government sort of grants. So we then turn to industry, philanthropy, fundraising to keep our research going. So that's what we're doing, and I would like to thank you for listening, and thank you to your committee for